I'm not really going to the grocery store, I'm looking in my freezers and looking in my pantry for all kinds of food. And I found some of this ground beef. So this ground beef has been frozen since March the 30th. So we're going to make some meatloaf. So what I have here is a pound of ground beef, and I found one of these I got for 49 cents, and we're going to use this up. I think I have like 3 of these left. So this is how I'm going to make my meatloaf today. Now it's not scratch cooking, but it's using up things in my pantry. So it calls for 1 egg and this seasoning packet. And then it calls for 1.5 cups of water, but I'm omitting the water and I'm going to use some of this tomato paste that I had left over from last week's meal. So I'm going to use up the leftover of this tomato paste. So not only did I use up the ground beef that was lingering in the freezer, I'm also using up some of the tomato paste, and I'm using up this mix. And the easiest way to do this is to get your hands in and mix it up by your hands. I'm going to spray it with a little of coconut oil. This came from the Dollar Tree. And there we go, is our meatloaf. Now I'm going to go ahead and see what I have in the refrigerator that I need to get used up. As you know, we're not going to the grocery store, so what can I find? So while I'm working today, the sun oven is going to cook all of my food. What makes the sun oven, the all-American sun oven, is great because it has all of these panels. And so this actually makes a lot more heat. All you have to do is just wait and preheat this. So it will take, oh, I don't know, it's early morning. So by 10 and 11 o'clock, it should be hot enough that I can put my meatloaf in it. And then it will cook this afternoon while I'm busy working. So I'm going to put the meatloaf in it, and I'm going to have some baked potatoes as well. Is the meatloaf, and I'm going to have baked potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the sun oven. Alright, so there is our supper. In about 2 hours it will be finished. Now this sun oven doesn't get as hot, and it shows 200 degrees. And some delicate squash in here I cut up real fine. So we have 1 casserole dish with the delicate squash. Now we're going to put that where it gets full sun. It's actually very hot. So that one's at 200 degrees. So now we have a full meal. It didn't take any resources whatsoever. Total off-grid meal. And I'll show you in a couple hours what it looks like. So there's a lot of things going on today on the homestead. Garden work. Solar cooking. And lots of planting. So this is what it looks like on my deck. We have a solar powered little fountain. We also have the other sun oven, and all of my herbs and all of my things that are growing, my greenhouse, It is like a little farm here. It is a little farmette. Everything here looks like a farm. I have the chickens, I have the gardens, and I have everything that a typical farm would have. So the garden is finished. Tomorrow I'm going to harvest my herbs, and I can sit back and just take a good look of all the work that I did today. And here was the roots of the store-bought spring onions that I got 3 weeks ago. Now I can go ahead and harvest the tops, and I can dry them, and they will be just like chives. Another thing that didn't cost me anything, because I took what was going to be thrown away and I made something more out of it. So the temperature is rising real quickly, and it's going to get to probably about 300 to 350, just like a regular oven, because there's a full sun today. Alright, our food from the sun oven is almost finished, and I got this at the food bank, and it is called RABA. So it's like cauliflower and broccoli, I think. That's how it is. So I washed it, and we're just going to cut the heads off of it. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it with just a little bit of water, and we're going to steam it. Alright, so we're going to steam this, and when it's finished, we'll put all of our meal together. Well, the meal's finished, and everything was made by the power of the sun. Let's try the meat. And the potatoes, everything is finished, and it tastes so good. I think food made with the power of the sun always tastes a little better. It's much more moister than when you bake it in the oven. It's a really good meal. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, everyone, it's time for Fanny's Diary once again. We're going to go back to June 1st. So June 1st, 1943, Fanny writes, "Today I put in 11 quarts of strawberries in the locker. The word and term of locker meant back in those days they didn't have their own freezers. So what they did is they rented a freezer uptown. Almost kind of like a mailbox that you would rent at the post office. So they rented a freezer where they would take their food and freeze it. Many years later, they ended up having their own freezer. Now we're on June 2nd, 1943. Fanny writes, today, Marion was at Maytown commencement, and Harry Unks graduated. June the 3rd, 1943. I was at the doctor's in the afternoon and then visited John Strickler.